Okay, we're excited to head to Alabama, play the CBS national game. We know they have an outstanding team, a lot of talent everywhere on all levels on defense. Certainly, defensively, Will Anderson is as good a player as anybody has on their team, and he's going to be a major concern for ours. You know, the one thing you try to do is not let a difference maker make a difference, and in his case, it's very, very difficult. It's been fun to watch how different teams have tried to approach that problem. None of them having too much success. Obviously, Henry To'oTo'o going over there is a very good player. They're just deep in everywhere on defense. Offensively, big, physical offensive line. A few of those guys over there starting for them I tried to recruit and lost the battle when I was at Georgia. Obviously, everybody knows about Bryce Young, and Jameson Williams is certainly as good as anybody in the country, fast. I think he's the record holder in the 300 hurdles maybe in the nation, and certainly in the state of Missouri. And, of course, then you get to Coach Saban, who, you know, obviously is the best coach in the nation and has been for a long time. So very, very big challenge for us. We're excited that's going to be an afternoon game and excited to go to Alabama.
Coach, I was wondering if there's any advantages in your mind in terms of having just played LSU, who just played Alabama, in terms of how you matched up with those guys and how they matched up with Alabama. Anything you can glean from that?
You know, obviously it was an advantage to us a little bit because, you know, they played each other 2 weeks ago, and you're watching tape. You know, you're writing down notes as you're watching tape. You're writing down notes on both sides. So part of that, maybe a little kickstart on. You know, we got in at about 2:45 or so on Saturday night, so that probably helped, or Sunday early morning helped us a little bit. But just not a whole lot to answer your question.
Anything on the film jump out to you that maybe you thought you saw something one way that the video turned out to show something different in the last game?
No, not a lot. You know, well, let me say this. I thought Miles Slusher played a really good game. He's getting better each week. Obviously, I said after the game about Mo Brown picking both passes. I made a mistake. I knew Miles picked the pass. It just came out wrong, but certainly want to give him credit for picking that pass. It was a heck of a play. But he's playing really well. I thought John Ridgway played well defensively, but I think we're getting better in the secondary, but our linebackers were outstanding. I mean, they were everywhere, and all three of them, and they played really well. On the offensive side of the ball, I thought K.J. Jefferson basically took the game over. I mean, there were so many times he could have been sacked, you know, that we were having problems. We had an MA on one of our protections, 7-man protection. We set it the wrong direction and threw hot off the backside, so we fixed that. And then they were bringing, you know, more than we could protect, which they had shown the week before. But they had dropped linebackers out the week before, and this week they kept them in, and it was just a little bit different. They were more in a zone coverage at that point instead of totally cover zero. I think our wide receivers have to be much more aware of what's going on. We have to have some sights. You know, when there's nobody in the middle of the field, you can't run a route that's a timing type route. The timing is now, and you have to beat your man immediately. You have to get your eyes around. So I thought KB and them had a good answer going to a true slide protection, maxed it up, but at the same time, we can't make a living putting our tight ends on their best pass rusher. We need to help him, which our backs didn't do a great job of doing that. So the penalties are frustrating, very frustrating. We had a lengthy talk about that. I'm not talking about the pass interference on Mo. You guys all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the jump off sides, which we had one. legal formation, which we had one, and certainly the flinching and the jumping off sides on the D line, lining up in the neutral zone. So you'll know every single day we have official there and we have a coach assigned for alignment, and it doesn't seem to be getting a whole lot better. We have to, I don't know how to fix it, obviously. I know how we're trying to fix it, but we have to do something different because it's not getting fixed. We are trying, but it's not getting fixed. And, you know, we've been taking them out of the game. We've been taking them out of practice, but that has to get fixed.
You addressed a little bit about what I wanted to ask you. It's your blitz beaters. You have to go into a game with a package of blitz beaters.
Which we had.
Right. And then, so what do you have to do better to make the plays work? And then do you expect Bama to maybe do more based on what they just saw?
That's not truly their style. You know, Bama's Bama, you know, and they've beat people for a long time doing what they do. Certainly, they will look at what LSU did against us, obviously. You know, they have some true zero stuff, you know. Coach had it over at Georgia, and Mel brought it in as well, and when he was there, and but it's a different style than what LSU was doing, basically. We tried, you know, we tried to run some screens off of that, and we just missed the linebackers. I mean, we had a screen out to, I believe it was Burks, and, I mean, if we make 2 blocks out there, it's gone. But we didn't. And so our blocking in space has to get a lot better, whether that be an old lineman trying to pin a man-covered linebacker or whether that be out on the edge. We had gotten better, but we didn't play well. And you have to give LSU credit, too, for that, but we didn't play as well as we'd like to.
Some of the people who picked your season wins picked it at 6. So you got 7 right now. I know you don't have time to think about that, but you'd be checked on exceeding expectations if people were to evaluate you right now. What do you think about just where you stand and where you're heading?
Well, I like where the program's going. I mean, obviously we wish we'd won those other 3 as well, you know, but I like where the program is headed. You know, we play in the SEC West, which, you know, you got to man up on this side. You know, there's not a game, you know, that's easy over here. That most of the time is not somebody you're playing that's beating a top 25 team or 2 or 3, and in Mississippi State's case, 4. And so for us to go from no wins, into 2 or 1, I think we won 1 in 3 years, and to be competitive. It's not necessarily about the number of wins over what the expectation is. To me, it's about how you're playing. You know, is the team playing hard? Do you have a chance to win? You know, because sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your direction, and you played a pretty good football game and you just lost at the end. The other night we talked about an ugly win. Well, it was only ugly on offense. It wasn't ugly on defense, you know, and special teams played well. But in the bottom line is, would you rather be in the locker room at Ole Miss or at LSU if you're an Arkansas fan? Well, the roles were reversed. You know, one side played really well, so one side didn't play very well. The roles reversed in both games. But the bottom line is, instead of not finding a way to win against Ole Miss, we found a way to win against LSU and found a way to win against Mississippi State. And those things are helping our program, obviously, a number of wins, but it's also building some confidence for us. Both teams were very, very physical over the last 2 weeks, I thought. Ours was too, but I think Mississippi State and LSU very physical, and obviously so is Alabama. A long answer, I'm sorry.
Are you finished? Okay, I'm sorry.
For you, I am.
Okay, okay, I appreciate that. Hey, usually when Arkansas plays Alabama, Alabama's number 1. This year they're all the way down to number 2.
We
Do they look?
played number 1.
Yeah. Do they? Well, Arkansas's played number 1 twice in some seasons. Did they look any? They lost 3 Heisman finalists. I guess they're quarterbacks. Do they look any different to you? Do they look a little more vulnerable? At all?
No. Very, very talented. They have elite skill, big offensive and defensive linemen. They have an elite pass rusher, more than one. No, I mean they're Alabama. I mean they're when you turn on the film, they're what you expect to see. I mean you have to go out there down there and play a really, really good football game and see what happens. But LSU played them close because LSU's got a lot of talent, and they're playing hard now and physical, and that's how you beat Alabama. If not many people can, but you're going to have to get into a fist fight and see if you can come out ahead, and you're going to have to hang on to the ball. You have to play a really, really good game to have a chance, especially on the road against Alabama.
And then Stevens, he might be the #1 offensive guy in the country in a lot of people's minds. Anderson, #1 defensive guy. What is Anderson doing to get all those sacks specifically, and what really impresses you about Young?
I really like what they do with him. They move him some, but they do a lot of what I call behind the center blitzes. So they'll take him all the way behind the center. They'll take him into the A gap. He has so much speed, so the tackle. This week our tackles really, really have to have a good week of practice, because if you set wide on him, it's over. I mean, he's going to come in, he's going to beat it. You don't have time to exchange the 3 technique. Back in the old days, 3s used to run and then get contained. Now it's just straight up the field. Basically what they're trying to do is pick the tackle and not give the guard time to come off, and he's so fast. So it's not only that he's a great one-on-one rusher, which he is, but it's because of all the multiple things they do, knowing that he's a guy. They set him up real nice too, and of course everybody would if you had that kind of talent.
Coach, I think you mentioned it after the game that y'all were very multiple defensively against LSU, 3- and 4-man fronts back and forth. Was there something on film that y'all had seen that made you think that would work, and is that something maybe you could continue, the rest of the season?
No, I think a lot of it is we felt, we had worked a lot of man-to-man stuff in practice, and we felt like it's time to pressure. And pressure, most of the time when you pressure, unless you're a zone-type pressure team, which we're not, then you have to play man on the outside. And we just decided, hey, look, we're going to go to LSU. This is our chance to win. If we can play man-to-man coverage, let's go after him. Not as mobile quarterbacks as what maybe we have seen. And so we decided to go after him, and we held up pretty well man-to-man coverage. I thought Mo Brown played a great football game. I mean, he just really did. I don't know that any of the men that he was covering caught a pass on him. I mean, he was really good.
And I don't think we saw much of Rocket Sanders, maybe 1 or 2 plays.
Yeah.
What's his status?
Yeah, he's beat up a little bit. We put him in there for a screen, but again, that's the thing I was talking about before. We missed the linebacker, and you have to make guys pay. If they're going to go 0 on you, you have to make them pay. And KJ did, but it was after he made guys miss and all that. But once you could make a team pay, they get out of that, but because you're giving up easy points. But we just weren't able to do that, which in other games this year we have. We've seen plenty of total this year, but we just weren't able to get open, weren't able to protect it long enough.
It really has been since like 2011 the most Arkansas teams going to Alabama and just got no chance. Do you feel the success you all have had maybe gives this team a little different attitude going into this game?
Well, we have a chance. I mean, the number one thing, and I know it might be considered coach speak or whatever, the number one thing you have to do to go beat a team is believe you can do it. And, if you've got a whole plane full of guys that are going, man, when's this game over? you don't have a chance, and we all probably in high school or we all been on that team that goes, I wish we wouldn't have drawn this team. That's the number one thing. I'll go back to look at my first year here in 2013, and we got beat 50-0, I think, or something like that by Alabama, and then the next year we got beat by a point. Now, things happen and different things during the game, like all that. But the number one difference to me was we had a team full of guys that believed that they could win. And I think success of our program that we've had, however you view it, whether it's been a lot or a little bit or some or none, our kids, it's helped them confident-wise of going in there, hey, we've beaten some, pretty good teams this year, and we know how good Alabama is, but it gives us confidence that we can go in there and play well.
Coach, I think you talked about last week the 4 Bs. When did that conversation start, and will you elaborate on how that all began and what the 4 Bs are for if anyone doesn't know what they are?
Well, I can tell you what the 2 are. They were the bowl and the boot, and basically we were talking about going on a run, and I was just sitting in my office and I was trying to make it into something that they could remember, and obviously you want to take them each week, but I was just thinking about it, and the first 2 came up with some Bs, and then there was Bama, and then, the borderline, what they are. Everybody does. And I don't know, just kind of kids liked it, and it was part of the let's make a run at the end of the year like we did at the beginning of the year, and worked out pretty good so far.
Bumper, after Saturday's game, he hit the 100 tackle mark for the year. I'm curious what's impressed you about his season, and what do you think is kind of keyed his production?
He plays so hard, He's very, very well prepared. He plays so hard. And I think he's the one that said it at the Catfish Hole that, because of Hayden and Grant, that if you got to beat them to the football. And that's kind of what it looked like Saturday with the linebackers. And he's beat up a little bit last week, and on a Tuesday practice, or maybe it was Wednesday, came back Thursday, and we didn't know quite his status, but he went in there and played it outstanding, and I'm trying to get him to come back next year.
I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on Bryce Young, and then also Burks. They released the top 10 in the Blitnikoff voting. He didn't make it. I know he doesn't have some of the numbers for the teams that throw the ball 60 times, but did that surprise you, or what do you think about that?
Oh, I'm the worst about awards. I mean, I didn't know that, but does that surprise me? He would win it if I was voting, but not really. I don't know where he would match up statistic-wise. There's a lot of stats out there, but for us, and I would say if you ask our opponents, he's the real deal and worthy of being on that list. He certainly is for us. Bryce Young is, man, he's got a really smooth release and has a way to throw the ball in all kinds of different angles. Throws a great long ball. Obviously, he's got Mechie and Williams out there. He got guys to throw it to, and Bolden, but he's a elusive runner. Just a really good player. Very accurate, and can throw touch passes hard, long ball, and he's elusive in the pocket.
I don't think Brody made the trip. What's his status, and then what did you think of Bryce Stevens handling the punt return duties?
Brody was out last week, got hit in the head the week before, I guess, Mississippi State. He'll move around a little bit today, non-contact. I think he'll be fine. Excuse me, not last week, but 2 weeks ago, and I think he'll be fine. I thought Bryce did a really good job of handling punts. He had a chance if he took another left on the one return, he'd still be running, but I thought he did a really good job of handling that. I mean, could you imagine, that was only his third game to even play, and going there in that atmosphere, and you're going back there, it's probably a lonely situation back there. But he did a great job and had some nice returns. And one I remember vividly, over 20 yards, and I was real proud of him. And again, it's one thing to go back there if you've been playing all year, but he hadn't. But we felt very comfortable that he could catch the football, and obviously he's won the state in 100, so we know he's got speed.
We talked a little bit last week with LSU about them maybe being worn out after Alabama. What does playing a team like Alabama this kind of late in the year, does that matter at all? Is there anything particularly good or bad about that?
I don't know what the good would be. Let me think on that one. It's just the schedule. I mean, it is what it is. It's the next one on the. Kyle and I were riding over here, and since our first 3 games, I think once we get back in here against Missouri, it's our second one. We've been in here since September or whatever, and this was a road game regardless. I understand that, but I'm just honestly, I'm relieved it's not a night game because we have a Friday game the next week, and let me say this: we're preparing to go win. I mean, that's what we're doing, and the name is Alabama, and that's strong and powerful. We understand that, but the name last week was LSU, and the name we play good teams in this league. We'll be excited about going over there. And then we'll worry on the way back home about, we already know what we're doing next week, but, what time we come in and all that. We know, but it'll be a short week, especially with Thanksgiving. But we need to go get this one if we can and play well.
Yeah, if you look at the totality of the Trey Knox unsportsmanlike penalty, there was something going on with the sideline.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that one where you have a little understanding, or did
No.
it look like it was not?
No.
What'd you think?
Thought he should have got out of there. He knows that, and I visited with him about it. No, that's why we don't talk to each other at practice. That's why all this does is get penalties. And no, and he knows that too, and he'd tell you the same thing.
So the golden boot spent yesterday on the floor. Where does
Yeah.
it go now? Is there a place for it?
Yeah, there's a place over there. We already have the Southwest Classic trophy, and we're going to move one of the other ones that was in there and put the boot right next to it and display it for a year at least.
Hey, Sam, I guess it's been more than 20 years since the Arkansas men's basketball team and the football team were ranked in the AP poll in the same week, and they're ranked. You're obviously back in the poll. I know you and Eric seem pretty close. Just wondered what you thought about that, the two sports both being ranked at the same time.
Well, I think it's pretty good for Arkansas. I don't know. I think they were preseason 16 or whatever, and I don't know how often the polls come out for basketball, but they seem to be doing really well. And I'm so apologetic because I really haven't followed the basketball team much to this point. I will when we get done, but it's a pretty good deal for both of us to be recognized nationally.
And then somebody a lot smarter than me posted this, but I think there's still 5 West teams that mathematically can win. Obviously, you guys got to beat Alabama and make that happen. If they win, they clinch. But what do you think about still being in the title mix with 2 games left? That hadn't happened to Arkansas in a really long time.
Yeah, what's hard in I've said it. I keep saying in this league because I shouldn't say it anymore because I've always said we belong in the SEC West, you know, so I need to quit saying that. But what's hard is when you get to week 11 and you look at your schedule, what you've played, it's hard it's hard to be in that conversation, which we are in a distance, you know, this got to happen, this got to happen, this got to happen. But it's very hard to do, and you have to give the credit to the kids. And, you know, certainly we took advantage of the super seniors, you know, and to have those guys being able to come back, they certainly have helped us. But to still be alive in week 11 in a mathematical situation it's hard to do, and I'm happy that we have that opportunity.
Last one, Jordan.
So many nail biters this season, and I think the guys after the game, I forget who talked about kind of the preparation for that 2-minute drills. I think it was Cam. What else do you do, if anything, or is it just a mentality thing? How does that help you, if at all, to kind of go into all of these games where anything could happen?
I think it's the calm and the belief in the locker room, to be honest with you, and it goes to practice and all those things. But I think it's the presence of, we believe in whatever situation that we're in that we will find a way to win it. And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But I know you won't if you're not prepared. And most of that happens, honestly, to me, in the mind, you know. Now you have to do 2 minutes, you have to do 4 minutes, which, you know, you're trying to get first downs and not give it back to them. Obviously, you have to have some type of overtime, you know, what you're going to do in there. And, you know, so I think you have to prepare them there, but I think a lot of it is just the mind and the belief, and we're in this situation. Look, we told them when we went to LSU, we're going to win, nothing else. We went to the movies and all that, but the bottom line is we were going to win. And so if you keep talking about that, at the end of the day, I think they start believing, hey, we'll just find a way here. And like I said, it wasn't exactly pretty on offense, which, you know, LSU did the same thing. I mean, they're a good defensive football team. We have to play better, but to answer your question, I think a lot of it, we do practice it, but we talk a lot about it as well.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.